This is Patsy with a Z. Welcome to Joy on Paper Live, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. And I have a very special guest today, and someone whose two books you will want to read because they are fantastic. And it is Pastor Steve Reynolds, who is the senior pastor of Capital Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. Oh my goodness, that's exciting. Hi, Pastor Steve.
Hello, good to be with you today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. 4 keys to weight loss. I think
hmm
that's so important. Always having been interested in the Bible and learning about what God wants. Wow, you have taken it to a new level. This is a subject now, particularly when you're in Washington, D.C., this is a subject finally people are addressing. I lived in Europe for many years, and we did not have the same problem that is in America.
That's right.
We ate very well. We ate croissants with butter, coffee, Mitschlag, but it was a combination of eating slowly because a dinner lasts 2.5, 3 hours. So we weren't gorging. I never ate fast food in Europe. So now we have to address the whole situation of weight gain here in the United States, the enormous problem, the cost of it. And you have some ideas because tell us about your background and how you got
Yeah.
interested in this subject.
Well, I'd like to reinforce what you said before I begin. My wife and I took a special trip to Italy, and we actually went to a chef's home for a cooking course meal type thing. And boy, oh boy, I learned a lot about what you're talking about. There's so many ingredients we have here that are banned in Italy and Europe and things like that. So hopefully we'll catch up with them here because there's a lot to learn from them, that's for sure. But it's a joy to be with you today. And I'm actually the author of a book called Bod for God. And actually, what we're talking about today is a revision of the other book. And we can talk a little bit about that as well. But essentially, I've struggled with weight all my life. And you talk about childhood obesity, I lived it. And I weighed 103 pounds in first grade. And that was when the average first grader weighed 52. So just picture me, I'm twice the size of the average kid at that time. But I used my size to become a fairly decent football player and ended up going to college on a full football scholarship. But after that, I was tired, burned out, and I said, listen, I'm done with exercise. And I meant it. And for 25 years, a quarter of a century, I just ate whatever I wanted to eat, ate like a football player, but never exercised like one. And I got up to over 340 pounds, almost 350 pounds, had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. I was a sick man. And so basically, at that point in time, I'm thinking, I got this beautiful wife and children and awesome church that I get to pastor. I got so many reasons to live. And if I don't change my life, I'm not going to live. Okay. And I really believe that. In fact, I believe if I wouldn't have changed, I wouldn't even be sitting here today. But basically, as a pastor, I prayed. I said, God, what should I do? And I just felt like God said to me, what do you tell people to do when they got a problem? Well, I tell them to look in the Bible. And I feel like God said, okay, why don't you follow your own advice? Why don't you look in the Bible? And I did. And so I like to study words in the Bible. And I studied the word body in the Bible. It's in there 179 times. And from that, I crafted what are the 4 keys in Bod for God. And through that, God helped me to lose 130 pounds. Also, I lost high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes along with that. And God's opened up an opportunity now for me to help literally thousands of people lose tons of weight through this book called Bod for God.
I think it's a fantastic book, a fantastic idea, because one of the things that we have in the Bible in Proverbs, what is it, 17:22, a cheerful heart. And if
Yes, that's
people lose
that's
weight, I know so many people, if you finally lose weight and stop with all this nonsense about being fat is great, that's
right.
ridiculous. But
No,
when they lose weight, they're so happy. They have such a
yes.
cheerful heart. So it's right there in Proverbs. If you just follow, sometimes you just follow the Bible, you just change your life.
Yeah, sure. It does good like a medicine, a cheerful heart.
Eh,
And maybe if we had a more cheerful heart, we wouldn't take all the other medicines we have to take.
That's true.
Yep.
We are taking so many medicines in the United States because of all of the foods that we're
Yeah.
eating. And as
Yeah.
you are located in Washington, D.C., I hope you have a big influence on the lawmakers that they have to get this stuff out. Because I
Yeah.
mentioned to you that having lived in Europe for a long time, we did not have these additives and things that are in
Yeah.
the American food. You eat pure food in your
So,
table. You start with the wheat and you add water, and you've got the most delicious food. You don't
yeah.
have all of this stuff. It's not enriched grain. It's not whatever they put in it. It's
Mhm.
real, and you don't gain
Yes.
weight.
I call it living food. So I call it living food, not dead food.
That's it. So let's go through the ideas to help people follow a path because people need to follow a
Okay.
path.
Yes.
And let's start with dedication and honoring
Yes.
God with your body.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, this is where it begins. When people talk to me, they always want to go to eat. I call it eat and exercise, but no, you don't start there. Yeah, you got to start with dedication. And as a Christian, dedication to me is saying I'm going to honor God with my body. And so basically, for me, the Bible talks about our bodies are like the temple of God. And I was trashing the temple. I wasn't honoring God with my body in this particular area. And so for me to start, I had to say, okay, God, I'm trying to honor you in these other areas and I'm doing a pretty good job. But in this area, I'm not doing good at all. And so my first decision was, okay, God, I'm gonna dedicate my knife and fork and spoon, my ice cream spoon. I'm gonna let you have that one as well. And I'm gonna dedicate this area in my life to you. And for me as a Christian, that meant bringing my belief system and my behavior together because I believed I was supposed to honor God with my body, but I wasn't behaving that way.
So, what do people have to do? What do people have to do to make it, to get to this level of honoring God with their body? What do they need to do?
Sure. I think for me, it was realizing that the Bible talks about Satan as an enemy and he comes to steal and kill and destroy us. And so a lot of times we see, okay, he's doing that through pornography and gambling and drugs and all these other things. But guess what? He's doing it also through overeating and under exercising. So I think we have to open up our eyes and see, wow, this is serious stuff here, okay? Because Jesus came to give us life, the Bible says, and life more abundant. And if we're going to experience the life that God wants for us, then we have to make this decision to make a change in this area because the Bible is clear whatever you sow, you reap. And if you just sow to your flesh, the Bible says you reap corruption. And if you sow to God's Spirit, you'll reap life everlasting. So it's just really important to understand this is a big deal. This is serious. I think people think it's not important or not as important as other things, but it's very important. I like to teach that your health is the lid on your life. And so if you want to maximize your life, you got to maximize your health. Again, going back to what I said earlier, if I would have lived the life I lived for 25 years, I truly don't believe I'd be sitting here today. But God's helped me to make some changes, and I'm maximizing my life, and I'm still pastoring the same church I've pastored over 40 years, going strong at that. Still with my wonderful wife. We have nine grandchildren, and we're doing life together. It's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
One of the things I think people have to recognize, and as you mentioned the devil, but if you have to look at the motivation behind people, so we see
Yeah.
in the States all of these advertisements for food and all
Yes.
of this pushing this, they develop this psychological
Yes.
programming. They understand what is going to get you to buy food. They understand what is
Yes.
going to get you to eat more.
That's
And if you look at it, if you just stop for a minute and say, okay, they're telling me I'm very sad today. I'm feeling really sad. My boyfriend didn't call me. My girlfriends are
mhm.
mean. My mother doesn't want to talk to me. I'm going to eat some chocolate ice cream. And then I'm going to
Yeah.
sit there on the couch and I'm going to start smiling and I'm going to be
Hmm.
happy. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. And how
Sure.
they
The whole. Yeah.
manipulate us to do this kind of
Yeah.
thing.
That's right. Emotional eating is real. Life is hard and life is tough, but the answer is not in the chocolate ice cream because it may bring you, I call it short-term pleasure, but it's going to also bring you long-term pain if you keep living that lifestyle. Don't just look at the short term, see the long term. And you're exactly right. I'm sure there's people today sitting in boardrooms of grocery stores and food industry people. What colors do we need? What lighting do we need? What music do we need? What advertising do we need? What do you need? We need to put in this food to make them addicted to it. Hey, I'm all for free enterprise, but we got to be smart, and we got to realize we got to take care of ourselves. What it comes down to, and we have to be aware of these traps that we all have to deal with each and every day.
I was in the food business in England. It was a confectionery store. I made those products, but I didn't use all these additives. I had been out of the States for so long, I didn't know about all these additives really because I was following European procedures. We didn't even think about it.
Yeah,
But now they are, you're right, they are sitting in boardrooms and they are saying, okay, we have to make this redder. We have to make this orange. That cheese has to be really yellow, and let's
right,
just stuff it with food coloring,
right.
and that's going to make people happy. And then they're going to sit around eating that in front of the television, watching a football game, and they're all going to be happy. And people get this psychological thing. That's what they need. And it is evil. It's evilness because it
Yeah,
comes from greed.
absolutely. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So we gotta educate ourselves. There's a verse in the Bible that says, "My people are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge." And so I encourage people to read something about health every day. Find a website or some blogger or books, whatever. Just my stuff. I actually send out a what's called the Monday morning health tip every Monday morning. Just you got to keep your mind focused. Okay, you got to keep your mind sharp, and you got to keep yourself educated about what you're putting in your mouth.
Exactly. And I think perhaps we've reached a point that it's so bad, the situation's so bad with obesity, especially with children who cannot do anything. They don't have recess anymore, and they don't have
Mm-hmm.
activities. They don't have marching bands like we did when we were young. They don't, it's hard enough for them, I think, now to find a cheerleader who, and then she'll be anorexic because
Yeah,
she's not eating well. It's
yeah,
terrible.
yeah. And there's even here in our area, there's certain schools that are having difficulty fielding enough players for some of the teams. Like they can't even get enough to have that sport. It's crazy. So,
It is.
um,
So
yeah.
that's
So
part of what you're doing with your book and with,
absolutely,
we're going to
absolutely.
talk
Yep.
later on about your program, how you get people involved, and
Hmm.
starting Bod for God groups in churches
Yes,
and
absolutely.
community centers, which are really
Yeah.
important. That's
Hmm.
part of the education part. Now let's talk
Yes.
about when you are talking about inspiration, motivating
Yes.
yourself for change. How do you
Yes.
do that?
First of all, you got to realize that you develop your cravings based on repetition. So you have 10,000 taste buds. And so the way you crave things is because you do them a lot. Okay. For example, I pretty much grew up in a home where every night before you went to bed, you had a big bowl of ice cream. Then I carried that on into my marriage and then even with my own children. And every night, 10 o'clock or so, my taste buds are saying, okay, it's time for ice cream, whatever. And I'm not saying you can't have some ice cream, but you can't do what I did for sure. But the bottom line is, when I started making that change, my taste buds didn't say, hey, this is great. Thank you so much. Appreciate you doing this. I know this is for the good of your body. No, my taste buds said, what are you doing? Okay, it's 10 o'clock. It's time for a huge bowl of ice cream. And so I call it the muscle of change. And I tell people, listen, if you're failing in your lifestyle plan, so to speak, your body forgot lifestyle plan, then the place to look is your eyes just not strong enough. And like for me, again, I want to live. Okay, it's that is my eye. I want to. I wrote another book called Get Off the Couch, and I talk 4 or 5 pages in that book. I talk about I want to live to be at least 100, and I don't just want to be existing. I want to be living. I don't know if God will let that happen or not, but I'm going to do my best to live healthy. And so the point is, what is your eye? And it's fine to have a short-term eye. I want to wedding's coming up and I want to fit in this dress or whatever, stuff like that people do all the time. You got to go something bigger and broader than that in the long term for a lifestyle plan. So inspiration is very critical to being successful.
I was in the hospital once, and one of the worst things, the most horrific screaming that I heard, and I thought this person was dying, screams of
Mm,
death. Just
wow.
it permeated the entire wing of the hospital and through the walls, but it went on for days. And then I
Wow.
discovered the reason. This person was not didn't have an injury. The
Okay.
reason the person was screaming is she could not be lifted onto a bedpan. Getting the bedpan under her was so painful. When you're so heavy that you can't get on a bedpan, you know you're in trouble. That goes for everything. For surgery, when you're overweight, surgery
Yeah.
is much more difficult. A surgeon, the minute he sees somebody who's 300 pounds like you were, would, oh my gosh, I can't.
Right.
It
Yeah.
doubles the danger.
Yeah, I remember one time I was in the hospital with somebody who was going to have heart surgery, and I happened to be there when the surgeon came in, and he saw his size, and he just talked about this is really going to be difficult because basically I have to go through all that fat to get to your heart, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
And you just feel so much more cheerful when you're thin.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. You got to be inspired. You got to. It's not going to be easy if you're not moving. For me, exercise is movement. So if you're not moving, it's not going to be easy to move. Okay, so you got to have some inspiration. You have to have some motivation in your life to make it happen. It's critical. Again, if you're not making the progress you feel like you should make or want to make, look at your eye. Okay, either you don't have one or it's too weak. You got to have a strong eye to change.
Pastor Steve, let's go on to the next part. Number 3, which is eat and exercise. What do you tell all the people who are joining your groups how to deal with it?
Yeah, so on the eating side, there's two things we emphasize. One is eat less and eat better. All right, and so we stress, okay, portion control. Your stomach's about the size of your fist, so you don't really need to be eating the size of your head. And then we stress, I call it living food. Like if you want to live, you got to eat living food. And then what that means is, I like to say, eat things made on a plant, not in a plant. And so you got to be careful about the processed foods, the fast foods. And again, so many people are addicted to that stuff. And it can take some time to change your pattern, but you got to do it. Okay. You got to do it. If you want to live, living food. Okay. It's not real complicated. It's not real hard as far as what you need to do and in that area. And then on the exercise side, I mentioned it, but you got to figure out what's your definition of exercise. So yes, you can go to a gym, and I do, but at the same time, exercise is movement. So what does that mean? That means, okay, I don't need to be riding in circles trying to find the closest parking spot at the store. You know, I can intentionally find one further out, and maybe I want to even. I see a basket, a stray basket out there, like at a grocery store. Why don't you grab the basket and push it? That's a little. It's not much, but it's a little bit of exercise. Do you really need to take the elevator? Is it just a couple floors up or whatever? And I know some people physically can't do that. I get that. But if you're able, why don't you take the steps instead of the elevator? These are all small steps to life that I talk about. They take incremental small steps to life.
And exercise doesn't have to be going to a gym. It can
It does
be
not.
joining a
Yeah,
dance group.
absolutely. Yeah,
One of the best ones when I was a kid, every Saturday night, every couple in the town would be at the VFW hall dancing. They'd be
right.
dancing. They'd
Yeah,
have 3 or 4 hours dancing and having so much fun. And that was
yeah.
exercise.
Yeah, and that key word was the word fun. So you don't want to do. It's not about enduring these things. Okay, you want to enjoy your God for God lifestyle. So, like you say, there's hundreds of ways to move your body, to exercise. Just figure out what works for you, and maybe you want to come up with a few different options. Where, but like you say, you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to lift weights. You don't have to run. Yeah, you get to walk. studies show us that walking is close. Running, yes, that's good. You get your heart beat up and all that stuff, but walking is at a good brisk rate is pretty much just as good for you. Okay, you can do interval training. You can walk a little bit, run a little bit, or whatever. But the point is, you got to figure out what's going to work for you and figure out, okay, what can I do to move my body? Okay, and get going. Okay, quit procrastinating. Get moving.
And really get going, because even all the way through up until the 80s, I think people used to go out dancing all through those years. We went dancing 3, 4 times a week. When there were discos, you'd be out there dancing in the disco. They don't do that same kind of dancing for my parents' generation. Those VFW hall Saturday nights, half the dances would be polkas. And now that's a good way to lose weight. You do a few hours of polka dancing every week, you're in shape.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And also, there are so many little things you can do. Like in schools, they have to bring back marching bands, they have to bring back all of those other things that got people active, acrobatics and synchronized swimming, synchronized dancing. Just get people moving,
yes,
and having
absolutely.
fun.
Yes, fun is the key word. Yeah, you're not going to do it the rest of your life if it's not fun. This whole idea of enduring, I'm going to drink these shakes or eat what comes in this box to me or whatever. People do that stuff all the time, spend lots of money on it, and they'll endure it for a while, and then they might lose 5 pounds. But that's no good. Okay, let's enjoy our life. God made food, a lot of good food. It's beautiful and it's delicious and it's good for us. And we just got to get our taste buds craving the good stuff and not the bad stuff.
And that really, you should start that at a young age too, where they
Yes.
are eating a variety of foods. I had a girlfriend who took her 3 sons to Paris, and she was so excited about it. They're in
Right.
Paris. She was so excited to be there. She remembered all the food, the taste. There was couscous on the left bank or crepes on the corner. She wanted all of that. And they fought with her nonstop. So you have
I
to
believe it.
know this is addictive.
Yes, 100%. No doubt about it. It's designed that way. It's intentional.
So it goes back to what we were talking about. You have to look for
Yeah.
evil.
And it might cost you a little bit more, but it's worth it.
Oh,
And in the end, you'll save money on medical expenses. But the point is, you're worth the investment. Okay. You're worth the investment. So make the investment in yourself.
and not to eat this packaged food, because even the worst cook can make a better donut at home than the stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, that's
It's
for
just,
sure.
it's terrible. Really,
Yeah.
people, a little bit of flour and some oil.
Right.
It's so simple to make a donut, really. And it's
Okay.
so good. You
Wow.
wouldn't do it often, but when you do it, you'll really appreciate the taste. Or like making a
Yeah.
cinnamon bun. Do it once a month and freeze some of them. It's 1,000 times better than anything you buy that's packaged, or even in
Awesome.
some of the chain stores. They just,
You have to open up a store here.
oh, I had fun in Europe, and but we had it eating in a way. It was so much easier because we couldn't have additives. We couldn't have
Right.
anything
Yeah,
extra. It
exactly.
had to be
Yeah.
pure. I made almond bark. It was almonds and dark chocolate. That was
Yeah.
it. I didn't have
Yeah.
anything in it. There were
Yeah.
no
Oh yeah.
preservatives.
Yeah, you gotta read labels. You gotta see what you can't even pronounce. Most of the things on a label you can't even pronounce them.
And I was selling the chocolates that had been made the day before. And there
That's
were
awesome.
no additives, zero
Yeah.
additives.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Good stuff. Good stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, eating right, developing taste buds. But if you learn
Right.
at a young age to eat curry, you
Mm.
always appreciate that taste. And I find that if you eat curry, you don't eat as much curry. You have the taste buds for it, but it's in a strange way, it's very filling. So
Yes.
you're done eating and you feel good about it. We have lots of things to learn, I can tell you. And part of it is number 4 is team. What do you
Team.
mean by that? Building your
I'm building a circle of support. So basically, the Bible says two are better than one. And one of the reasons it says is you can support each other, you can help each other. And I like to say, don't try to lose weight alone, join a team of losers. And so basically in the book, I talk about, okay, how can you build a team? Like, because I didn't have a Bod for God book. I didn't have a Bod for God group when I started, but I had to go find a doctor that I trusted who could be on my team. I had to go get my family on my team. I had to get other people to support me and pray for me. And I had to educate myself. I had to talk to people that knew about exercise, knew about nutrition and things like that. But now I also mean, like, you can bond for God, you can do it by yourself, but it's also a group study. And so basically you can do it in a church setting, a community setting. It can be 2 or 3 people, it can be 15 people or whatever. And you can do it even larger, but break it down into smaller groups. And now I actually have, for years, people have asked me to do an online course. And so I now have that course. It's just been released. And people can get that at our website, my website, pastorstevereynolds.com. And there's a lot of free resources on there. You can get the book Bod for God. I've written 4 other books. They're available there. There's videos. There's a lot of good stuff there. And then there's this free download, a 7-day quick start guide. It's really good. Okay. It's really good. And I don't mind saying that. I put a lot into it. Okay. It's got a lot of depth to it, and it gets you going in the right path. So that's free. You can download that on the website, pastorstevereynolds.com. But the team is important. Okay.
This is not just for Christians. I want to make that clear to everybody. This is not
Correct.
just a program. You don't have to be a Christian or you don't have to be a believer, because it's for everybody. This is something that's, and of course, with you too, with the Christian side, you have the Proverbs side, so the Jewish people can get right into it.
Absolutely,
because we have
I've spoken in community centers. I've spoken to Jewish groups, Catholic groups. I'm a Baptist pastor, but this. Honestly, we do what's called lose and live weight loss competition. And we've had atheists participate, Muslims have participated. I mean, it is Bible based, but the point is you can apply that DIET. Even if you didn't include the Bible, it's still what's needed. You got to have dedication, right? You got to be inspired, okay? Whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, or it doesn't matter your background, your religion, you still got to eat and exercise, okay? And guess what? We all need a team. So the truth is, you can apply this to any setting.
In Proverbs 31:17, we have Eshet Chayil, where it talks about being strong. And
yeah, exactly.
And women have to be strong.
Absolutely. Yep. I love that. I love she worked with her hand. Oh yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. Yeah.
So it's really for everybody. Whoever you are, whatever stage you are, if you're 300 pounds, you're in trouble. Let's just put it that way. But whatever you are. And I want to say something about people taking these drugs. This is not a lifelong thing. You can't do this to your body, taking these drugs, because there are side effects where really, if you can get to the point where you're thinking about your food, your taste buds are working, and you're working your body in some kind of fun way to just walk on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. You should be out there walking and not taking these drugs, because they really worry me.
Yep. I actually had a doctor say this to me. He said, modern day medicine is take a pill or cut it off, like surgery. Okay. And I'll never forget him saying, really, when you think about it, there's a lot of truth to that. I've talked to many doctors through the years. And one other doctor told me, he said, basically, I didn't even have a full semester of training on nutrition. You can go through a whole medical doctor training, years and years of training, and learn basically almost nothing about nutrition itself. And that's upsetting to me. That's worse. People need to learn good nutrition. Okay. And so I personally think you need to make sure you find a doctor who knows something about nutrition, okay, and encourages you in that area, and not just handing out pills. And a good doctor, as far as I'm concerned, their goal is to get you off the medicine, not keep you on the medicine. So part of that, I was taking high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes meds every day for 25 years. So, that's no good. Okay. And for me, it was lifestyle. I know some people, it's genetics and things like that. My grandfather had diabetes. He was strong, he was skinny, he was a farmer, and he still had, they called it sugar in the country back where he grew up, in the country like in Virginia. And I know there's some genetics. A lot of this stuff is lifestyle based. And if you change your lifestyle, you can change your health and quit taking so much medicine.
And I think if people are always interested in the environment, and I can't help but wonder what happens to all these medicines. I don't think the whales need to get thinner. I don't like the idea of all these medicines going into the ocean.
I hear you. You're right. You're totally right. Yeah. Yeah. But you got to have that team now. You got to have that team. I'd love for some people to start some groups here today. Go to PastorSteveReynolds.com. I got everything you need. It's all there for you. I made it easy. You just need to implement it.
So tell us about some of the success stories in the groups that you formed.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the Bod for God, and I wrote a book called Get Off the Couch. I also wrote a book for pastors, and all of them include success stories because I love them. And the truth is, almost every day of my life, I hear from people that contact me and tell me what's going on with their health and weight loss through Bod for God. So basically, there's a story at the end of every chapter, or I call it week because it's 12 weeks. There's a success story. And I love in the first chapter, there's a guy named John Wood. And when I met John, it was actually during COVID. And I know COVID had a lot of bad things, but some good came out of it. And one thing for me was I met John because our church wanted to feed some of the workers up at the hospital up the street from us. And so we contacted them, and they said, you can't personally come in and do it, but you can support somebody we've approved. And John owned a diner, and he was approved. So I contacted John and said, hey, we want to give some money so you can provide some meals. And I think the first time I met him, he had a shirt on that says, don't trust a skinny chef. Don't trust a skinny chef. And he was not skinny by any means. But out of that, he heard about Bod for God, and he heard about what we were doing with Losing to Live weight loss competition, and he came and he joined, and his story is just unbelievable. How much he's lost, I forget, like 130 pounds, something like that. And chapter 1 of right there, he's the first story, and he probably lists like 20 things that he's done that helped him, and that list is valuable right there. So the book has hundreds of what I call small steps to life, things that you can do to implement in your lifestyle program.
I think it's wonderful what you've done with both of your books.
Really, the current one is an update of the other one. You can still get the other one, but here's the deal. The book is an evergreen book in most ways because it's really a study of the Bible and health and wellness. And so the scriptures haven't changed, and the 4 keys are the bones of the book, so to speak. But I like to update the stories. I like to update studies. I'm always looking for the newest studies on things and information that's available. So that's pretty much what compelled me to update the book. Thankfully, over 75,000 people have purchased the book, and hopefully they read it too. But it's been amazing, the life transformation. People transform their soul and their body through Bod for God.
With a book like this, people relate to the stories of success. So when you read about somebody who might be like you, like somebody you know, and you read about their success, it inspires you. And that's the whole purpose of your book, is to inspire people.
Yeah, I have people say to me, hey, I'm like Gail, or I'm like this person, or whatever. And you're exactly, and that's why there's younger, there's older, there's men, there are women, and that I intentionally have varied demographics as the stories, because you're exactly right. I want people, some people can't relate to me, but can they relate to John? Can they relate to Gail? Can they relate to this person? So you're exactly right. It's very important.
For people also, when they're reading this book, to think about the children in their life and how you can help them so that they don't get to this point where they are living a life that is really filled with so much agony.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Yeah, the Bible says, train up a child in the way they go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. And we got to train them young, train them. So taste buds craving water and things like that. I watch my children with their children. And it's crazy to me that they want water, which is great. I'm thankful for that. So I think the more we can do that, the better. So that's for sure.
Oh,
Childhood Big City is it's set. They're not moving. Like you say, a lot of the programs have been taken out of the schools, and they're on their devices and spending time looking at screens. And I can't imagine what the future is of health. Okay, where we're headed. It's scary to think about. So we got to do what we can to change that trend.
and of course, you're in Washington, D.C., where is now finally an interest in changing the
Yes.
situation, whether it's
Yes.
restricting the additives, restricting all of these oils.
Yep.
I just have olive oil. And that's what we had in Europe. We didn't have all of
Oh
these.
yeah, that chef I mentioned. My wife and I went to this cooking class in Italy in a chef's home. We were actually in his home, and he had olive oil in gallon, big jugs, like huge jugs. So it was I'll never that changed my life. It was incredible to be part of that. Yeah.
Also restricting some of the advertisements and the
Yeah.
promotions that they do on television that are misleading. You know,
Yeah. And yeah, and if you listen to the advertising, come hungry, leave happy. That type, you start paying attention, you'll again, hey, free enterprise, go for it. But hey, you got to take care of yourself. So I'd like to really encourage people to go to my website, PastorSteveReynolds.com. And I love for people to get the book, Bod for God, and the online course, brand new, okay? Brand new, updated Bod for God, and brand new online course. And lots of free stuff there, including the 7-day quick start, and there's videos on there. There's a lot of good stuff there. I appreciate the opportunity we've had to talk about this.
I think your work, what you're doing, is godly work and important work, and
Thank you.
every
That
person
means a
you
lot.
help is a blessing.
Yep, that means a lot. Thank you for your work and what you're doing as well.
Thank you so much for joining me today on Joy on Paper Live. It's been a joy to talk to you, and just keep helping people and talking to those people
Yeah.
in Washington, D.C.
I'll
Get
do
their
my
act
best.
together. Okay?
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you now. Bye bye. It was great to talk to Pastor Steve Reynolds about his book, Bod for God. I think you will enjoy it. You'll find lots of interesting information there, and go to his website where you can find free downloads and more information about his online courses. Meanwhile, please subscribe to Joy on Paper Live so that I can bring you more interviews with fascinating authors. All you have to do is click that button, like, comment, and share. Thank you very much. Bye bye now. And get healthy, get thin, and be happy. Bye bye.